pragmatic truth. It's simply determined by the utility of something, right? And whether it is accurate, whether it is useful, whether it works or not. And my question that I always like to say with this one is like, would astrology have stuck around for as long as it had in multiple traditions around the world for thousands of years if it didn't work? Like, would it still be here? Would the greatest scholars and physicians and mathematicians and philosophers of the ancient world have used it if it didn't work? And I think especially since we're speaking about astrological medicine, physicians, like that's a really important area. Like I use astrology as a tool for working with people and understanding plants as an herbalist. So my take on it is very medically oriented. And that's a perspective and approach that's been used by astrologers for a very, very long time. And I think physicians tend to be pretty practical people, right? They're pretty pragmatic. It's like if they are doing something and it doesn't work, they're not going to do it anymore. Like that whole approach will get completely overthrown because it simply doesn't work. Obviously, when we study the history of medicine, there's some pretty dark times to be sure, right? There's some periods of time where the practice of medicine was pretty barbaric. Like for example, George Washington, right, was killed from being bloodletting, from having too much blood let out of his body. I believe for a case of bronchitis, I think is what it was, right? Obviously, mercurial medicines were being used for a long time. Poorly prepared mercury medicines were being excessively used. And people were poisoned. So I'm not saying the history of medicine is perfect, but obviously those things didn't work. And that became clear at a certain point in time. And we don't do that anymore, right? But if we look at the practice of medical astrology, people have been doing it for a very, very long time, both in Western traditions as well as in Eastern traditions. And it's important to know that it wouldn't have still be used if it did not work. And that is the pragmatic truth of astrological medicine, is that it does work. Again, it is used as a tool to understand what's going on with someone, what is making them ill, what is the diseased organ or system or tissue of the body, how is that diseased organ, system, or tissue specifically afflicted, what's going on within that system, and then what is the corrective path? What is the remedial pathway? What do we need to do about it, basically, to treat it? And then go about that therapeutic pathway and treat it, and then it works, right? If it works, then that means astrological medicine is pragmatically true. Whether we can explain how that works scientifically, to me, doesn't matter. Now, some people need that, and that's fine. But if you need that, then what I would say is you can't say that something doesn't work when it does work just because you don't understand how it works, right? That's, I think, an important distinction, is that just because we don't know how something works doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't, obviously. So I was like, it's like the old saying, the proof is in the pudding. And I don't really understand why we say the proof is in the pudding. But in this case, it's true. And the same is true with herbal medicine. I think this is something that comes up from time to time in discussions of herbal medicine, where people deny the validity of herbal medicine on the basis of it not being scientifically validated or proven that herbal medicine works. And that always really blows my mind, because it's like, really? Well, what do you think people did to heal themselves before we invented drugs, which was not that long ago, just in the last few hundred years? Plants have been used cross-culturally worldwide for thousands of years, effectively. Whether whether science can explain to us how that herb works or not doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that the herb works, it heals, it does the thing that people have said that it does for a very long time, and it works. Now, so for me, I don't need science to tell me how an herb works, though I would say that it is very interesting when science can say, hey, check out this molecule in turmeric called curcumin, this complex of flavonoids called curcumin. Here's all the stuff that we've learned about it. Fascinating, amazing, love it. Do I need it? No, I don't. Is it interesting? For sure. Does it lead to potentially novel uses of herbs? Absolutely. And I think that's where science has a really interesting role in herbal medicine, is that through the discoveries of science, we might find new and novel and interesting ways to apply certain remedies based on what science learns about that herb that might be a little bit different. But I don't think we should or need to rely on science to explain or need to prove how and why herbal medicine works. You don't feel well, you take an herb, you feel better. What more proof do you need than that? So that is really my take on astrology, medical astrology or astrological medicine. As well, is that, I've been using it for over a decade in my herbal practice. Through the chart, I'm able to speak to a person and get a sense for what's going on with them. I can look at their chart. I can further clarify and understand what's going on with them, see their pathological pattern reflected in their chart, see some other nuances and maybe some other contributing factors that might be causing that problem that they have. That helps to inform me about a good direction to take in terms of a therapeutic approach for them. And if that therapeutic approach works, then the method is sound.